Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if it's sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 202. And it's a Sunday edition on New Year's Eve, early in the morning. That's because the New York Knicks went down with a monster trade. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Brooklyn Nets struggles and all of it here on Bad Weather Fans, presented by DraftKings. Alex, I'm sure your phone blew up yesterday as the trade went down with Immanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett going over to the Toronto Raptors for Malachi Flynn, Precious Achiuwa, and OG Anunoby. And now the Knicks in a very different direction. Losers last night on the road to the Indiana Pacers, but playing shorthanded. Knicks 17-15, Nets 15-17 right now. But Alex, from your end, your perspective as blockbuster trade went down on a Saturday, kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, hey, how are you doing? Yeah. So the Knicks fans have this thing where like they'll when we were texting about this yesterday, well, they'll pump up an asset that they have, and then if it gets traded, then they shit all over it. So, like, for example, the second round pick that the Knicks traded is the Pistons pick, right? So the Pistons, I don't know if you heard, they're the worst team in NBA history, right?
Won yesterday.
They won yesterday. Like, congrats against the Raptors, coincidentally, who were shorthanded too. So, okay, whatever. That's going to be the first pick in the second round. So that's essentially a first round pick, which is what I've been told this whole time. Leon Rose, masterclass. I can't believe they got a second round pick. That's really a first round pick this year as well. You know, so now you can't, take a dump on that pick as if it's just a second round pick and, put it down. Right. So I don't know where to start here. So I'll tell you where I was when I heard the news, and then I'll go from there. My father's in from Florida visiting everybody, and he's staying at my aunt's house in Matawan, New Jersey. So I'm driving down the Jersey Turnpike, and I'm listening to pick him up, to bring him back to the city to hang out with us for the day. And I get I'm listening to Joe Beningo from 10 a.m. This is like 12:30, and I'm listening to whenever it was, and I'm listening to like Joe Beningo from 10 a.m. just to hear some Jets talk and just to hear some radio that I want to hear, and whatever, and just like relaxing in a very kind of zen state. I'm by myself, no dog, no baby, no wife, just chilling. All of a sudden, I get a text message from Dolan J. Trump that says, "Holy shit, they traded RJ," and I was just like, "Oh, he's busting my balls." You know what I mean? Like knowing Dolan J. Trump and how he is, I'm just like, this guy is fucking around. There's no way. But because I'm crazy, I look at my phone and I'm like, oh my God, this is real. What? I almost drove off the turnpike, and I couldn't. I was so angry, and I fired away one tweet that I was just like, Leon Rose, whatever I said, it blew up. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you saw it, and I just put my phone away. I couldn't take the positive spin bullshit in that moment. I was so angry. I was Mike Biseglia going to the Palisades Center, sitting on a bench, but just driving my car.
For God's sake.
I like literally just couldn't take it. I just put my phone away, and I was picking up my dad anyway. So I just talked to him. He loves sports, and we were talking about the trade and whatever. And then I put on WFAN, and Danielle McCartan came on, and she was doing a great job of breaking it down, not giving real opinions on it, but like just giving me the news. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to hear anybody's fucking opinion. I didn't want to hear how, oh, this is smart, and we got a guy who averages 16 points per game or whatever it is for two major guys who were known as like part of the core four on the team a second ago, and I couldn't take it. And it's like, trading RJ Barrett, it kind of felt like the writing was on the wall for him, and I kind of expected that might happen in the back of my mind. And I was kind of, the bloom came off the rose a little bit this year. He's still a good player, right? But with Quickley, he was one of my favorite players, and it's not even because of that. It's just because like we never gave him a chance. It's kind of the Obi stuff, but like on steroids, because you actually saw it from Quickley in big moments. He never really got a chance to start. He sat behind Elfrid Payton, Alec Burks, Kemba Walker, Austin Rivers. Like they never gave this guy a chance when they could have given him a chance. It was almost like they were just trying to keep him down because they knew they were bringing Brunson here, trying to keep him down because they didn't want to pay him big money. And when he said, I'm not taking your bullshit offer in the offseason, they traded him 2 months later. It's just like the Knicks are a Ponzi scheme. You said this last episode, Mike. The Knicks are like, people are also saying you didn't even give up a first round pick for OG Anunoby. Can you believe it? Why would you give up first round picks for OG Anunoby? First of all, number two, you gave up two of your major players for OG Anunoby. Why would you need to give up a first round pick on top of that? Like, stop. And the Pistons pick is almost a first round pick anyway. So, what are you fucking talking about? Like, people are just spinning themselves in circles. They want to look like, oh, the Knicks actually knew what they were doing. I can't believe people are so upset. Listen, OG Anunoby is a nice player. He's very good. But the guy, how much, what's his stats? It's like 16-5 or 17-5, and the Raptors suck. Like, he's good, and I'm gonna root for him. I'm a Knicks fan. Plays very well on defense. But like, he's not going to stop the Pacers from putting up 140 points on the Knicks like they did last night. Like, he's not going to do that. The Knicks had Mitchell Robinson, probably an all NBA defender this year, and they were still giving up 150 points. So one player doesn't make that big of a difference. And I get he plays on the perimeter. He can guard the team's best player. He won a championship, brings that pedigree. That's great. But when he won that championship, he was averaging like 10 points a game. He wasn't Kawhi Leonard on that championship team. Like, stop it. Okay. This is not the Bargnani trade. I get it. But like, this is just like another, like, could be another disastrous Raptors trade. And it's driving me crazy because of the spin from reporters, Knicks reporters trying to say that, oh, look, this was smart. This guy's not as good as OG. This guy's not good as OG. I got this. Malachi Flynn takes the spot as the backup. Precious Achiuwa fills in the big man role, which is true, but that part of it, at least. The spin from reporters because they want to get the next story because they know another trade's coming. And then Knicks fans buy that shit and then just spin it into a fucking blender. And I just had to put my phone away. I couldn't look at that all day long. I was just like, literally was like in the Palisades Center in my mind. I can go on all day. What did
Did
I
you
tweet
think
that?
that when it went down? You're like, I'm like Mike right now. Did that cross
No,
your
I just
mind?
thought about that now, and it's actually a
Okay.
good point. It's a good way to say it. Like I went to the Palisades Center in my mind. When you
Yeah.
delete Twitter, just be like, I went to the Palisades Center.
Yeah, that's a real inside baseball term, or if you really know the show, when you say something like that. It's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, I had deleted Twitter for the day because Nets had a bad loss. I had a
Nothing going
tweet.
on,
I had
right?
a
Yeah.
tweet that actually did well, and I was just like, which is always funny because when I'm not thinking about it, and I just like write my emotion.
Right.
But I was just like, I'm just not in the mood to see the negativity on the Nets over and over and over again. So I deleted the app. So it's just for me, it's a habit where I don't, automatically go to it without even realizing that I'm reading and looking into this negativity. So I did delete it. And then I got a text message. So I didn't usually, if I did not delete Twitter, I probably would have heard about it sooner because I would have seen it and I would have seen the Woj tweet come in, but I did not. So I got a text message about it. And because when it came into me, because my app was deleted at first, I was like, I got to make sure this isn't spam because you don't know, like I can't verify that it is. And then I kind of put it together and I was in shock. Now, from my end, different viewpoint. My first thought was, my first initial reaction was, holy shit, they gave up way too much for this guy. Then, to your point, as the day kind of progressed and went on, as I started reading more, as I started seeing positive spins, my headspace changed where I'm like, I kind of understood the trade from a landscape perspective of putting your roster together where your two best players are Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, and they're building around them. And he is a piece that fits around them perfectly. Now, he also makes up because your two best players offensively aren't good defenders, right? Jalen Brunson in particular. Now you're kind of making up for that a little bit with OG. I will say though, the the amount of people that all of a sudden like I am trying to figure out for this is not just from Knick fans. This was last year too when there was like rumors the Nets might go after him as opposed to once they had dealt Kyrie Irving. I was reading things about they're going to keep Kevin Durant and what they're going to do now is go to Toronto, get Pascal Siakam or OG and kind of pivot there. Whatever, it didn't happen. We know the history. But everybody was like, is it 3 first rounders? I don't. I am dying to know, and I'll learn it in real time as I see him with the Knicks. But like this lore of him from a guy that is a good player, but has become like everybody goes crazy over him, and I'm trying to figure out, is he as good as people say he is that watch him on an everyday basis? What is happening? And I actually was curious, so I wanted to reach out to a buddy of mine that actually works in Toronto for the CBS Sports affiliate over there, and him and I have been friendly over the years, helping each other out. Just with when I was at CBS with sports crap. And I was just curious to get his opinion. And he said, OG solid, one of the best two-way players in the league. From the Raptors perspective, the Raptors desperately needed to shake up what you see because they're now 12-20. Um, I'm also super high on Quickley, so I like that a lot. OG's free agency makes this risky for the Knicks. He's more of a complementary piece than he would be the third guy in the big three. And I almost think
Wow.
that I think is interesting because I don't know if he's the third guy like he is mentioned, but I do think he's a great complementary piece on a title team like the Raptors had with him when they had superstars. So I'll be curious if he can, what he brings now on that front. And then also, this, you said this, you texted me this, that the clock starts to tick now for the Knicks and for Leon Rose because the ball's in motion with RJ Barrett gone, with Immanuel Quickley gone. The Knicks now have set, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going forward. And it's the clock's ticking now for a team right now that is, the 8th seed in the East.
Yeah, and it's just bizarre, and that's crazy because I'm looking at his stats, and like I know defensive players you can't tell by offensive stats or rebounds, and like he did lead the league in steals per game last year, 1.9. That's great. Averaged 16.8 points a game last year, but this year he's averaging 15 points a game. And like, you know what I
He's
mean?
hurt a lot.
Like he's hurt a lot, but like, okay, is that good? Like, I mean, like it's just like imagine a couple weeks ago, not a couple weeks ago, on December 20th. The Raptors hosted the Nuggets, and it's the Nuggets, right? OG plays 40 minutes and he scores 9 points, shooting 4 for 9 from the field, had 3 assists, no steals, no blocks, and he's -5. You traded Quickley and RJ for that. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm picking apart one bad game, but like if you look at his game log, like what is to be so impressed by this guy? And in 2019, when the Raptors won the title, he was like a 20-minute per game, like,
Yeah.
second year player. Like it wasn't like, yes, he was there and he has the experience. He has the ring. You can't take that away from him. I'm not diminishing that, but the Raptors win the title without him. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like, oh my God, without him they don't win. No, that's Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean? Like that's Kyle Lowry. Like that's Siakam. Like you know what I'm saying? Like if you got Siakam in that deal instead of OG, I might be able to wrap my head around it a little more. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
I,
it's just weird because also like back to the Donovan Mitchell stuff. Spin the block on that, as they say. You didn't trade Quickley and RJ for these guys. People were bitching about not putting RJ in this trade for Donovan Mitchell, who's way better than OG Anunoby, like on a different level. Like, don't even compare.
yeah.
And you then play games with the Jazz all offseason. We can go back on this, and fans might disagree with what I think and whatever. So I don't even want to go into the details of it. But at the 25th hour, you extend RJ, essentially taking him off the table for the Jazz. You piss the Jazz off completely that they say, you know what, go fuck yourself. We're going to go back to the Cavs offer, which wasn't as good. And you guys can go fuck yourself. You know what I'm saying? And now, the year after that, 2 months into the season, you trade the guy, after you just gave him $100 million. And people are telling me, oh, it's a flawed roster. You had to make it up. How many times does Leon Rose have the excuse that it's a flawed roster? They punted on the draft 2 years ago to get Brunson, which worked, but because they punted on the draft because of the mistakes that they made, they had to give the Pistons, they got nothing back in the trade, like literally give the Pistons picks, Alec Burks, Noel, and Kemba, just to get them off the books to afford Jalen Brunson, who they knew was coming regardless. So they made all of these moves before that. They had these under the table moves before that, and they still had to make all these moves because they had a flawed roster. We are now in year 5 of Leon Rose, and he still has a flawed roster that you got to give away major pieces in order to get a good player, not great. Look, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? We are getting punked. It's a Ponzi scheme, like you said. And I know it may work out. If the Knicks in the next 2 months trade for that star, they trade for Donovan Mitchell, even DeJounte Murray, even him is not good enough. You know what I'm saying? If they trade for a star on Donovan Mitchell level or above, then this made sense. You know what I'm
Totally.
saying? Because then you plug in that big star at shooting guard or small forward or wherever it is, and or even center, dare I say, and away we go,
Of
and
course.
we'll see what happens. But right now, on paper, what the fuck are we doing? And what if the Knicks don't make it? Everybody's saying they're so confident. Everybody is saying they are so confident the Knicks are making another move. All of these reporters, all these fans, well, they're making another move. They're making another move. They're making another move. Okay. It's always about the next trade for the Knicks, the next season for the Knicks. Don't worry, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. When the fuck is it coming? We're in year 5, right? Or 5 off seasons, whatever it's been, 4 off seasons. I don't know. I'm losing track. He's been here for a while now. Okay. 2020 season. We're in 2024. Okay. Like he
Wow.
got hired the year before that season, that COVID year, Leon Rose. So he had that off season. It's now how many off seasons, Mike? 4? Like what are we doing? Like when does this happen? And I know they've taken major steps, and I know they've been to the playoffs twice, and I know they won a round in the playoffs, and that's all great and good. But you're losing this window when you have Jalen Brunson on this amazing contract. You're losing this window where you have these young players that are playing on rookie deals. You're
Yeah.
losing this window. And you're going to turn into one of those teams that's just going to be the Hawks. You might get to the Eastern Conference Finals like a couple of years ago, and then you're going to be done. And it's just I, I can go on all day. I'm just like
Please.
it's like what's like I know with Quickly, it's one of those guys that if you trade him, you're like, all right, well, you got to give up something to get something. Like if you traded him for an actual star, it's like, all right, you trade RJ Barrett for a star. It's like, all right, you had to give up something to get something. OG Anunoby is not that guy. It's just not, and it's just that simple, Mike. And I'm just so frustrated, and that's why I had to put my phone away. Once I brought my dad back to Jersey, and I was like looking at my phone a little bit more, and the family time is over, and I started firing away more tweets and like looking and getting sucked into the comments, and I'm just I can't. I have to do better at putting it away and just not responding to these morons. And it's just, apparently I live in Brooklyn now. One person said, like, hey, you live in Brooklyn. I'm like, okay, I live in Brooklyn, apparently. And people just make up shit. And like, it's just what it is. They make up shit about me. They make up shit about the Knicks. They make up shit in their head. They do it to troll. They do it because they really believe it, because they can't imagine that their favorite team might do something that might not be correct. And it's just, maybe because I'm 39 years old, and I've seen a lot in my life with the Knicks that I just I can see it, the forest through the trees. Is that the expression? I don't know. It's just I don't know if it is, but whatever it is, I can
Trees
see
through
through
the
the bullshit.
forest. Yeah, no, I
The
know what you're
trees through the
saying. I
forest.
don't know which one
Like
it
read
is.
between the lines. Do you see those three fingers? Like read between the lines right there. What does that middle finger do? So it's just
Um,
whatever, Mike.
yeah, no, I hear your passion on it. And it's understandable. The 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 part of when you said, if the next big guy is coming, that is true. You do see a lot of that. I would say that the Knicks got another guy with forms of connections back over to Leon Rose. So that seems to be his main power play. And that's his best move in getting guys, is using his connections. Now,
Hmm.
to his advantage, it works. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if it works for him, it works for him. And he's done a nice job with it, leveraging into a team now that went from a disaster to a team now that is in the playoff hunt and is going to be around, and you're going to watch playoff basketball. Now, I don't know if that translates into something that you can do to get the next big superstar. That has not been the case for him so far here. 2 points that, from my net fan perspective, that I thought were really interesting. And I always got shit on as a net fan when they signed Kyrie and Durant, that this is not organic. You can't do it this way. You're doing it with,
Mercenaries.
they're
Yeah.
just mercenaries. Meanwhile, the Knicks are made up of guys that have not been drafted by them. And I don't have a problem with that. But there were a lot of people that came out and shit on the Nets for doing it a certain way. When the Knicks, if you actually look at that net roster, they did, they did the same thing, right? They traded Karis LeVert, which I would say at the time was like your Quickly, and then they
Right.
traded Jared Allen, which would be like the RJ Barrett, right? To get I mean, they got James Harden was the difference. They didn't get a good, very good role player. They got
An MVP.
they
Yeah.
got James Harden. But the point
Yeah.
is, they did the same thing.
Uh-huh.
And everybody's like, oh, that's pathetic. You got to do it with the homegrown guys here. There's, not a peep out of that.
No,
Because
it's
it's
the
now your
hypocritical
team.
nature. Yeah.
And the other part is, I'm still in disbelief about this, that Knick fans, and if there was ever a time to want to hear from the guy, it would be now.
And not a
How are
statement,
Knick
not a fucking statement like he
I
released.
mean,
Yeah.
could you imagine, for example, and I'll use the other big brother teams in the area, and I don't know enough about hockey to give an opinion on it. But could you imagine if the Yankees made a monster trade and Brian Cashman didn't speak? Like, there would be an uproar from Yankee fans. Like, you made it, like, let's say there was a trade and it was of this level of agree or disagree, but there was a lot of conversation around it, and he just didn't speak. Could you imagine that? I don't understand how Knick fans give this a pass. I, as a fan, especially now, and don't say, well, there's nothing for him to answer, like in the offseason. What is he going to talk about? There are so many questions that are out there from fans to want to understand the trade. And this idea that, the media was so tough on the Knicks that I understand that he would hide. Guys, you got to get over it at some point. Like, this is a big business for a big franchise that is supposedly one of the biggest in the sport. And I agree that it is. Leon Rose has to Leon Rose has to talk to the media about this trade. And I am stunned. Maybe it's just because Knicks fans have been so conditioned where it doesn't matter and they actually think that it's a good thing he doesn't talk. But here's a case where I'd love to know, like, hey, what went down? What happened? Did you think you were going to extend quickly? What was it about RJ Barrett's game that changed? Why do you feel like this is the right move? I mean, there's just a bajillion things to want to know. I'm in disbelief that more fans aren't upset that they don't get to hear from Leon Rose. Especially, this would be the time to talk. There is a ton to say now.
Yeah, and he's an agent, and he's made a lot of money. He's a power broker. Like, you know what I'm saying? He knows how to talk. People will say this, well, he's not a big talker, not a big public speaker. Like, give me a fucking break. This guy's negotiated so many deals. He can get up there and give you the executive speak and talk in circles and not really answer anything by answering things. And I understand, though, to his defense right now of not talking, let me just play the other thing. Like, if you have some deals in the works right now, and you don't want to talk right now, but by the trade deadline, if nothing happens or if something happens, you better talk. Like, give me a press conference during the All-Star break or right after the trade deadline. Let me know, like, the state of the franchise. Because it's not guaranteed that the Knicks are making that trade before the deadline. No, the Knicks never said that. Reporters said the Knicks aren't done. That doesn't mean that they're going to trade for Dame or Joel Embiid right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't mean that. It just means, like, the Knicks aren't done. And what did they do? They extended Deuce McBride. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe they're
Yeah,
gonna flip Malachi Flynn. You know what I mean? And to your point, really quick before you go, it's you to your point, like with other big franchises in this thing in the
New York.
market,
Yeah,
the Giants when they drafted Saquon Barkley, what's his face? The Boston guy that ran the
yeah,
Giants at time. What the hell's his name?
yeah. Now I'm blanking too, but I know what
The
you're saying.
I
Not
forgot his
yeah,
name, but he got
yeah,
fired.
yeah. I know.
He came on the radio or did the press conference and said he's a gold jacket guy. He's a gold jacket guy because he had to come out and talk because drafting a running back number 2
Yeah,
overall.
Dave
Over,
Gettleman. Dave
Dave
Gettleman.
Gettleman, thank you,
Yeah,
Gettleman.
both
He
blanking
had
at
the he
six in
had
the
the
morning.
yeah, exactly. 6:25 in the morning. Sorry, give us a break. He said he came out and did the gold jacket guy press conference. It's mocked by everybody, and maybe that's why the Knicks don't talk. But, like, you know what? That's part of the game. You're paid millions of dollars to run a franchise
Yeah,
in the biggest market in the country. You got to talk. And, it just the Yankees, they make a big deal and they trade for Giancarlo Stanton. You think Cashman's not going on WFAN the next day? You know what I'm saying? It's just
gotta
you
talk.
gotta do something. You gotta say something.
Yeah, and I disagree with, well, if they don't say something by if there's more trades in the work. I mean, you just say, like, we're always looking to improve our roster. We're
Right,
always
right,
looking at
right,
what's
right.
available. Obviously, he's not going to go like, yeah, we've got so and so on the block, but he would just say, hey, we're always evaluating, we're always looking at our roster, and we want to make it better. Bottom line, that's our
Right.
business, and that's how you answer the question. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
But I'm truly baffled by that. Baffled by it, and this idea of I've said it before and I'll say it again. Don't tell me about how there's nothing more difficult than playing for the Knicks and playing in New York and the scrutiny that's there, but then not allow access to anybody to get inside with these guys. I think Alex, the emergence of Julius, I mean for the Knicks, Julius Randle got a lot better. Jalen Brunson got a lot better. RJ Barrett did not, and their plans and they move forward with it. And another issue is Dolan J. Trump texted me yesterday and he said one of his basketball insiders said you can't play Quickley and Brunson together on defense, so you're never going to give Quickley those minutes. And because of that, they made their decision. And I would say this to Knick fans, and I think Jalen Brunson is amazing. But if you're going to build and construct your roster around him and that everything flows off of him, it's a team that's not going to win a title unless you bring in another superstar that can play with him. But if everything's just going to be, well, we need to find God, we have a good player and quickly, but we got to move on from him because he just won't match with Brunson. Eventually, it's like so many times you can do that. He better go out there and find that next mega superstar. And if he does, then things change. But if not, to Becky Hammond's point, it's just not going to be good enough to win a title.
And it's funny because I disagreed with the way she was saying it. That she seemed like she was coming from a place of like she wasn't really informed on the Knicks stuff. The way that she said it, I think really kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And the dismissiveness of it. Like, I mean, you could win a title with Brunson, I think. It's just you have to have the roster around him,
Of
to
course.
do it. Because like look at somebody like Allen Iverson. I know it's a different world at the time, but he's one of the best players of all time, like on a completely different level from Jalen Brunson. But he never won a title. You know what I mean? And like, look
Right.
at guys, there's a lot of, you can name them. There's a lot of guys that never won a title that had the entire team built around them. Even James Harden, like, you know what I mean? He had Chris Paul, Dwight Howard at times, Melo, whoever else rolled through Houston at the time. He never won a title, So it's just like, it's more of like focused on one guy that you need to have more than one guy. Everybody gives Steph Curry credit for all the titles. Like Klay Thompson was fucking incredible.
Of
Like, you
course.
know what I mean? And Kevin Durant was fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, oh, Steph got all these rings. He's a
Well,
short guard, but well, you know what? He had a lot of help.
you know
and
what,
and
Alex?
without those guys, they won. They were in the lottery with
Brunson
Steph.
Brunson is a it's almost like his own success has created this problem because
Right.
initially when the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, it was like, all right, we've got our point guard. We've got a guy that can come in here and give stability to the franchise at the one. But you didn't think of him as the guy that was the savior of the franchise. He comes in and he's playing basically, at a Kyrie Irving level of basketball. I'm using the comp
Yeah.
because it's similar, small point guards, right? Different style of games, but that level of stardom. And I would make that comparison. He's been that good. But if I said to you, can you win a championship with Kyrie Irving as your number one? Everybody like that's ridiculous. He had to do it with LeBron James. You can't allow. Look what happened when he went to Boston and Tatum and Brown weren't the stars yet, and Kyrie Irving was the guy. Look what happened. He couldn't win. So I would say if you thought of it in that direction, where you had a guy that was, let's say, Kyrie Irving level of stardom, could you think you could win a title if he was your number one? Everybody would say no, and they would be so excited to say no because people hate Kyrie. With Brunson, because he's a great person, great guy, and he's played out of his mind. But he wasn't expected to be, a Kyrie Irving type signing. It's a different mindset. It's like, how could you say something like he'll figure it out? I would say, look at the comp. It's like Kyrie Irving. You need more guys. And it's just not enough. And as good as he has been, the Knicks are 17 and 15, and they're in the mix right now with with all the rest of the playoff bullshit. And they're not the top tiers. And
And yeah.
again, he's been so good that he's almost created the problem for himself with the media and fans now talking because he's playing out of his mind good.
Yeah, and it's part of why I didn't. It's weird to say because it's part of why I didn't really want Tibbs when they hired him. I wanted somebody like Atkinson, like somebody who's like a springboard coach, not like the coach that's going to be the end all for the organization because they were going to win too much early on and then they're going to go in, and that was my fear, and it's what happened. You know what I mean? They got the 4C championship, and then they brought in players like Kemba and Fournier to try to make them even better and beat the Hawks, and why we lost. Meanwhile, if they just had Mitchell Robinson, maybe they do win. You know what I mean? So it's just you get rid of the core with Reggie Bullock, who was like the heart and soul of that team, and we don't have to rehash, all of that. But like you guys know the story. But it's just like now, like last year, you get to the second round, and now you want to do more. Like it's just, there's just so much there, and you make a
Yeah.
great point. But I'm just excited to see R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley in Toronto with the shackles off, the media shackles off, and let me hear what they have to say. Like I know
Yeah.
R.J. Barrett's like he's a professional. He's not going to say anything. Emmanuel Quickley's from a great family, and he's a good guy, and a very religious man. And I don't expect them to curse out
Yeah.
the
No, he
Knicks
won't.
and whatever. But like I just want to hear what they have to say honestly. Like what happened? Somebody talk to a reporter. Somebody is going to drop something, and it's going to be like, this is what really happened in New York. And these are guys that are, this isn't Obi Toppin, where like we didn't know if he could be good and never got a chance, and we were excited about it because, when he played over 30 minutes, he looked great, in Indiana he hasn't really been great, and he's underperformed and whatever. The jury's still out on him. But Emmanuel Quickley's really shown it. RJ Barrett's shown it. Like they've had moments. You know what I'm saying? These guys have legitimate moments in the playoffs, in big games in the regular season, on the road. Like they've shown it. Like they're like for years now. Like, this is not Obi Toppin who had no shot behind Randall to show it. You know what I'm saying? Like Quickley's gonna be good on the Raptors. Like he's gonna really be. He really could be. And I hate to say this because it's a big statement. He could really have like a James Harden type jump with the Raptors. I don't think he's going to be an MVP, but like his production's going to go from, let's say he's averaging, I don't know what he's averaging. Let's say he's averaging like 15 points a game. He can go to 24.
Oh
Like
yeah.
really with the snap of his fingers
Oh
and
yeah.
just from a pure volume standpoint. And we are really going to see it. And I forgot who said it to me. I think it was CP the artist. Shout out to him on Twitter. He said he's like maybe Quickly gets exposed and he becomes like you're like, oh, now we see him when he's getting all these minutes that he really actually wasn't that good. And that's a good point. But at the same time, Quickly started a bunch of games. He's played a lot. So I can't see that happening. You know what I mean? I can't see him now. We know he's always a backup. I just don't see it. Maybe he won't be a star, but like I can't see him now. Oh man, he's just averaging 10 points a game. He's nobody. You know?
I really love that. I think OG really fits better in the Knicks scheme with what they have around their two main guys in Brunson and Randall. I really do believe that because they can put him on the perimeter. He can shoot threes. He's more, he can get to the basket and be athletic. He is the fit that the Knicks probably wanted RJ Barrett to be and could never be. So if you were making the 1-to-1 swap, I think it's disappointing because he was the third pick in the NBA draft and he didn't live up to that. And you're making a trade that I think stings. What hurts then is, you're compiling it with putting Quickley in the deal. And that's where it gets difficult to handle that. You look back and you said, we were so disappointed in RJ Barrett that we had to include Immanuel Quickley in the trade to get the guy that we wanted. I do think he'll go there and succeed, and I'll be interested to see how he plays. And if you're going to do a DraftKings bad weather fans, I would say early on, if you're doing one of those daily leagues, when
They're still cheap.
his value comes out, right, and you have to put a salary together, he's going to be low because he usually gets 20 to 26 minutes. Now it's going to be a higher usage rate. So early on, please use Immanuel Quickley.
Promo code BWF. Yes.
Alex, I think we should talk about the Nets for a couple minutes because of the shit show that occurred with them last week.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Knicks.
Well, at least Mikal Bridges is off the table going to the Knicks. You don't have to worry about that now.
Man, I would say it was funny. It was the first time I really did believe that maybe he would. I think he's miserable here. I think he's absolutely miserable with the Nets. Not talked about enough because it wasn't a literal fuck you to the fans like Julius Randle. But every time Mikal Bridges has a good play, he's doing the Twitter fingers. He hates the fans. He is miserable. I'm convinced hates the fans is strong, but I think he doesn't like it here. I think the Vaughn incident really just showed
with the resting players when he didn't want to rest.
Resting the players when he didn't want to rest, and you see his body language. He's not being used right. He's just sitting out on the perimeter. Spencer Dinwiddie's dribbling 100 times. Like something is off with this Nets team. It was an embarrassing week, and they lost to a 5-win Wizard team. And you know why? You fuck with the basketball gods, they give it back. I do believe that, right? You're gonna rest everybody versus the Bucks on a home game, and then you're just like gonna gear up for the Wizards. They were owed that loss as a humble reminder that you don't do shit like that. And I probably wasn't critical enough on them before. Like I almost not excused it because I said in the last episode, I'm like, it's bullshit. But I was like, it's just the NBA. But now the deeper you look into this team, there's just some issues, man. And as good as Vaughn has been early on, I don't know what happened, but he has lost the team. His rotations in the last game have been horrendous. You don't know who's coming in when, where guys are supposed to be. There's a real lack of continuity, which they had early in the season while you felt good. Now it's the exact opposite, and it has turned fast. And I can't believe that I'm saying this. And I was reluctant to, but Alex, they got to go full rebuild mode and blow it up because they're fucked. Now I know people say you can't go rebuild mode because you don't have your own pick, right? So tanking doesn't really matter. So I understand that end of it, but at some point you just got to say, if the Rockets get better on us, it's not our problem. I mean, it's our problem, but if they get better, they get better. Deal Clax, who's on an expiring. Deal Dinwiddie, who's on an expiring. Deal Royce. Get picks back and start to rebuild because this is not it. And unfortunately, Mikal Bridges is not good enough. Ben Simmons is toast. Cam Thomas is a piece, but they don't have. And as much as I wanted them to go all in on a superstar, and I would be excited because it would give like a bump of energy where maybe they would look good and get themselves back into a more fun level in the short term. They really got to blow this thing up and figure it out because right now they're just not good enough. And I wouldn't be shocked. And Vaughn and Marks are tied at the hip. But you've got an assistant coach in Kevin Ollie who's so respected.
Won a championship in college, right?
Yeah, he won a championship with UConn. I wouldn't be, I think deep down inside, I think some of the players wish he was the head coach. They really do. And this team unraveled fast. And I think a lot of Net fans went from this is here we are, we're fun, but I think you're starting to see their true identity. Vegas had them as a 37 win team. They're 15-17, and they're 2-7 in their last 9. And there's some issues internally, and boy, they really fucked it up with that Bucks thing. That was a real fuck up by the organization. That was a bad look.
Yeah, and it would have been a fine if the players were on the same page, like you said last episode, like and this one. If they're all on the same page, you're like, whatever, this is an organization thing. They're all but Mikal Bridges clearly wasn't on the same page. Like he clearly was not.
And yeah,
and that's the best player on your team. And I know he's not Kyrie or Durant level, but that's the best player on your team. And like you have to at least have him aboard. And if you want to rest everybody, but Mikal Bridges says, no, I don't want to rest, just let him play. Rest everybody else. Like he wants to play. You messed up his per game averages and that cost him money. Like, you know what I mean? Down the road, so it's like, why would he be happy about that? And, man, and there's other ways to rebuild besides just tanking and getting your own draft pick. Like you can trade Mikal, you can trade Claxton, you can trade Dinwiddie and just get a million picks. And then next year, just start 4 rookies and do that, rebuild that way. And you know what I mean? Get Kevin Ollie, get some players that he likes and like that. That's the way that you can spin it, and then you're still building your team, like, and you have assets to trade to get somebody else.
And that's the part that annoys me too, because the Nets, they don't play rookies. We don't talk about it a lot, but they don't.
You have
play
some
rookies.
picks on the roster that don't play.
We're obsessed with talking about how the Nets got all these draft picks back from the Suns. One of those picks was last year was Noah Clowney, who did play well when he
in the rest game.
Rest game, but it's like. We value all these picks, and then the guys come here, you don't get to see them. So it's frustrating, and it was probably just like how it was frustrating for you as a Knicks fan when you had all these young guys and they don't get to play. Well, it's the same thing for a Net fan who's now like, okay, we're losing, and we've got all these rookies. If we're going to be losing with the veterans, there's no point. Right. If we're winning with the vets, even though it's not a title, at least you're winning games. But if you're going to be losing with and I love Royce O'Neal, and I think he would I think he would be a good fit somewhere else. But if we're losing with Royce O'Neal, if we're losing with Spencer Dinwiddie, if we're losing with Nick Claxton, what's the point?
Right.
Get value back and let the younger kids play, and so be it that the Rockets have a better pick. I mean, what so be it. What is it? What does it really matter if you don't have a draft pick? What
It's
does
already
it
gone.
really
Yeah.
matter?
And you traded a first round pick for Royce O'Neal. You can get like future first or protected firsts
Hell
or
yeah.
anything. Just get assets for these guys. And down the road, you be the Thunder, and then you flip those picks and you can move up in the draft and you own every draft. Like you can just
Yeah,
move
man.
up and get the guys you want. You're not gonna be able to move it to the top five, obviously, in the NBA draft, but you can move up
They're
from
gonna
20 to 15. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can get a star at that point, like Kawhi Leonard, like Donovan Mitchell, Halliburton, all these guys were drafted from 10 to
look.
15. Like you can find somebody like that,
How, how about Halliburton staring
No,
down Wally yesterday?
20 and 20 last night over,
2023.
yeah, shit.
23, like the third player in NBA history to do 20 and 20. He came into that game with a mission,
He
and
stared him down, yeah.
Zerbiak apologized.
And fuck
Basically,
Wally,
like,
man. He's not even a
basically, I
Nick.
was wrong.
Wally's not even a Nick, and he's talking
No, I
shit
know.
like he's a Nick. He's from Long Island. He's a New Yorker, and I know he grew up a Knicks fan, but he's on what like 50 teams, and he never played for the Knicks, and now he's like Mr. Nick and talking for us and playing the company line. Like get the fuck out of here, man. You know what I mean?
He apologized.
He apologized. It's fine, but you know what? You like he went too far on the Homer angle, and he got burned for it, and now the Knicks are getting burned for it, and they look stupid. You know, so it's just I'm not a big fan of Wally. Like he was a good player, and I'm sure he's a nice guy and whatever. But you know what? Like stop it. Like slow down, slow your roll, bro. Like you're not even a Nick. You know what I mean? Like I play the same amount of games for the Knicks as you. You know, so just stop. You know, get me somebody in here that's been here with this franchise. Like Clyde has a lot of cachet. Even just get me just somebody who's just a former coach or something. You know what I'm saying? Like Huey Brown.
What
You
did
know what I
you
mean? Like I
what
don't
did you
know.
make of the Magic?
They're good, man. Magic are good.
Nets
Ben
on them.
Caro's good.
That's one team the Nets
Magic
beat all the time.
Magic are good. Like they're
Yeah.
good. They're a good team, and Bezalel is a good big, and Cole Anthony is okay. So it's
Wagner.
like they're just a
Yeah.
good team. You know what I mean? Like
Young.
young and they're not afraid. And the Knicks got punched in the mouth when and now the Knicks are what
Ah,
they've lost three in a row now. And it's just like, all right, well, all those good vibes last week, talking shit after you beat the Nets, to me and like, oh, the Knicks are gonna be, like, all right, now look at you,
they caught the
and I'm not
Nets.
happy about that, but it just is what it is.
They caught the Nets during their we're going to be bad now phase, so they definitely got
Yeah.
them at the right time. Luckily, the Nets did beat the Pistons, and we talked about this with
Ugh.
Dolan. I was like,
Yeah. Please
no, I
win.
don't want to
Yeah.
be the team that lost. Now, it kind of makes sense with Toronto yesterday as they deal 3 players off the roster, and they didn't get the other guys back, so they're playing really shorthanded. That it kind of was fitting, and Detroit was feeling better because they almost beat the Celtics in Boston earlier in the week. So I kind of understand that momentum going there. I was glad the Nets, did not lose to Detroit, and I thought it ended up being, the Washington Wizards. Nets tonight, will lose by 100. They are in Oklahoma City in that game. They have no chance.
And you're like, please
No
update
chance.
me if the Nets win. You'll be happy if the Nets win, I'm sure.
There's just no chance. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm watching.
No,
It'll be
the
on.
Thunder are they play
It's
100
just
miles an hour, man. They're tough. They are a tough team.
in Oklahoma on New Year's Eve.
Ugh. Yeah, they
Yeah,
just
I
want to
wonder
get out of there.
Do the Nets spend New Year's Eve there, or is it on an airplane? Like, where do they even go? What do they do?
When do they play next? What's their next game?
Let's see their schedule.
I'm sure they stay there because even if they
Then
even if
they're
they play the next.
well,
What?
then they're Tuesday against the Pelicans on the road.
Okay, so the
So
second. So
that's
they
where you
probably
want to
stay
be for New
there.
Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's true. But you're not going to get to New Orleans in time for New Year's Eve, so you might
You,
as well just stay in Oklahoma
you
City. Wake up in the morning.
7 o'clock game, quick flight, Alex. I think they could get there. No, probably not.
Yeah, you land and you have all these suitcases. Like, let's go.
Yeah, no, go to
No, you,
bed.
you get at it. And if you're the Nets, you keep them in Oklahoma City because something
What
bad
does it
could happen
matter?
in New Orleans.
What does it
You know,
matter? They
nothing's happening in
stink.
Oklahoma City. Anyway,
How did we go
uh,
from
what happened?
man? What happened to the Nets? I can't. I miss. That's why I said this, and everybody was always like, you want to, but there's no more bullshit. There's no more bullshit in this. I said, yeah, but there was the lingering opportunity to win. And I always said I
It's
would take
different
that.
bullshit. Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm sure you're happy that there's no of the Holocaust denial kind of stuff
well,
going on.
yes. Yes, that.
This is a lot better than that. But you take the
Fair.
guys, the talent, like.
No, well, now it's just normal. Hey, we're not happy group. We got to figure it out. We're
Right.
15. Hey, Nets only two back of the Knicks. As crazy as that sounds out loud.
Listen. And again, let me reiterate. I like OJ Anunoby. He's a good player. It's just they gave up too much for him. Like bottom line, they gave up too much for the guy. And the Pistons pick is basically a first and two guys, two major rotational players that you thought were part of your core four. And now they suck, according to Knicks fans, and you weren't going to get anything for them. You depreciated Quickly's asset as him as an asset by never playing him. And now you trade him for pennies on the dollar. Same with RJ Barrett. You trade him when their value is completely low. And just this is what you get.
I do think the Knicks did get better though, because unfortunately, quickly he's not going to get all those minutes anyway. So it's not like you're trading away a guy that was getting all of that. RJ Barrett's been bad. This is an upgrade. So I do think from the short term perspective that the Knicks got a little bit better. That
But
I
are you
do
gonna
believe.
but are you gonna pay OG Anunoby a 30 to 40 million a year?
Well, I'm just saying from the short term for this season,
Right.
they did get better, but he's going to cost a lot of money. Sure, you're going to be
Right.
tied up in that, and
He's gonna be like
yeah,
what the hell's his name? That was on the Warriors and then went to the Kings and keeps getting a lot of money and is really not that great.
Harrison Barnes.
Harrison Barnes. He's going to be like that. He's going to be like a middle of the pack guy that's going to get a max contract and just be like, what the fuck? How does this guy keep getting fucking paid?
Yeah,
And the Knicks are going to have their own Harrison Barnes. That's OG Anunoby. And he's a good player, can win a championship with him because he did win, but with Steph Curry, and it's a good player and he did win a championship, but are you going to win one here with him? I don't know.
I hope
Like,
not.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just,
I hope not.
what's the next move? It's about the next move, Mike. It's always about the next move. Kick the can
Yeah.
down the road. Knicks.
Bill Simmons had an interesting one that the Knicks, he could see them interested in somebody like Jordan Clarkson from the Jazz, which to me, would make sense because he fills the Emmanuel
But
Quickley
why
role.
would,
Where
yeah. But Danny Ainge hates the Knicks, apparently. That's what everybody told me. So why would he now trade the
if
Knicks
the
to
Knicks were
Jordan
willing
Clarkson?
to give more draft picks for that move, but I mean, they don't have anybody else that they would want.
So now we're giving up draft picks for Jordan Clarkson.
I guess. I mean, if you need to, you got to get your guy here. That
Yeah,
would be
that's
fun.
great management, man. Just give up picks for Jordan Clarkson. Not for
Hey,
Donovan
fill the
Mitchell, but
role.
Jordan Clarkson. Yeah, let's go give up those picks.
I'm just saying. The point is, they need to find themselves.
break.
I would think another scoring guard, unless they feel good with what they have. I mean, DiVincenzo scored 68 yesterday, so
Yeah.
although
Listen,
he scored 3 the game before.
And Grimes can't score. So like, let's go, man. We got this, right? We're ready to rock. And it's just it sucks because like I forgot who I was talking to in our Knicks group chat on Twitter with Triple M, I think brought it up to me. He sent me a tweet of somebody, I won't blow them up, of saying like, I pray that RJ and Quickly dominate the Knicks in the middle of January when they come to the Garden. And like I don't hope that happens, but I'll laugh if it happens. Like I'll laugh like you deserve this, motherfucker. That Quickly's gonna put on a show. Like he really is. And it's gonna suck because the Knicks still can't play defense. So it is what it is, man. I'm not hoping for it. I just will laugh. And he didn't understand it. He's like, that's odd. And like
that would be sick. 50 points
so,
from Quickly at the Garden. Oh, that would be unbelievable.
And it's not like Porzingis coming back to the Garden where he was the hated face and when the Knicks were horrible and they're playing the Mavericks and the Garden was electric because they just wanted to boo him and he was just overwhelmed by the moment and the Knicks won that game. RJ had that spinning layup and dunked it on. I mean, spinning move.
No, this won't be that at all.
It won't be that. The crowd is going to give Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett a standing ovation. Video tributes that are worth it. This isn't Taj Gibson coming back home. This is like two legitimate players that helped the Knicks to 2 playoff series appearances and 1 win and they homegrown guys. They're gonna get a big ovation, guaranteed.
I am just happy that I never have to see that
skip.
Oh yeah, remember the skip? No, now I love the skip.
Unless the Raptors play the Nets in the playoffs and he's giving you this skip.
No. Oh yeah, honestly, that
Quickly skip.
There's a good chance you got a 9-10 net Raptor playing. That is definitely a possibility.
That'd be good.
No, I was gonna say I never have to see people tweet the D+ rating about Immanuel Quickley from CBS Sports again.
I've never seen that. Actually,
that is gone. That is out of my life. Now the Raptor fans can tweet it. Deep love
Yes, now
rating.
that they can.
Oh,
Yeah.
finally,
No, they can just mock the
that's
Knicks again
gone.
for another trade that the Knicks, handed them, like, wait, they gave us a first round pick for Bargnani? Like, okay, thanks, man. Like, this is that all over again, maybe. And I was for the Bargnani trade on paper because I was looking at the stats. I'm like, this guy averages 20 a game. He's a big guy who could shoot. And then I'm just like, oh my God, what the fuck? This guy's a fraud. Like, what I
Yeah.
mean? This guy sucks. He's always hurt and he's a bum. Like one night he'll bitch out Kevin Garnett in Brooklyn and call him a bitch and like really get in his face, and then the next day he'll give you like 5 points and not give a shit. Like Bargnani was a joke, because he was the talent was
Yeah.
there. His number
He
one
was
pick
a
in the
net
draft. Yeah, he was another
for a
net.
hot second.
Yes, another former Nick that was a net. But it's just yeah, I don't know. I'm just upset, and move forward now. OG Anunoby's a Nick, and I'll root for him, and I'll root for the Knicks. Last night, it was hard. It was really hard to get into the game last night. I was just kind of just staring at the screen,
It was a weird game.
And good for Obi Toppin and Jacob Toppin. They got to play each other in garbage time at the end of the game last night, and shake hands. It showed his mom in the crowd, their mom in the crowd, and that was a cool moment for them, for the Toppin family.
Yes. The weird, such as bizarre.
Yes, very
Obi's
strange.
brother is there. And the first time he plays the Knicks in his career back, his brother's there. I mean, it's strange.
Yes, yeah,
The whole
yeah.
thing is
Good for
strange.
Tibbs though for putting. I know the game was a blowout, but good for him to putting Jacob in the game. I mean, I'm sure he didn't have to do that, but he did that for the
Yeah.
Toppin family. That's the least he can do for Obi after ruining his career.
Episode 202 in the books. Knicks make the trade. Nets in dysfunction land. Knicks 17-15. Nets 15-17. Nets
Happy
play
New Year,
tonight.
Mike.
Happy New Year, Alex. Yes, Happy New Year. I am no chance I get to midnight.
Yeah. Well, last year, the last time we hung out was last New Year's Eve.
No
So,
chance I
and
make to midnight.
we were supposed to hang out on this podcast. You heard us talk about that we were going to see each other about 2 weeks ago, and we couldn't do it because Mike's whole family got sick. So
we're
we
sick
couldn't
again.
do it, and they're all sick again. That's what having kids does to you, and so we didn't hang out because I have a baby, so that wasn't happening. And so we went a whole year without seeing each other, Mike. But we see each other every day virtually or
Yeah.
just through text messages. And
I'll send you a picture
yes,
of the sickness in my house so you get an idea.
I'll
But
send you some flowers, some
sounds
chocolates.
good.
Yeah.
All right,
Some
Alex.
Sherry's berries.
Good episode. Okay. Edible arrangements. Okay, Alex. I'll talk to you later.
Shout out to everybody. Yes. Happy New Year, everybody. Have
Happy
a
New
happy
Year.
and healthy to all your families, and have a good one.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you. Yep. Bye.
Okay.